the green machine. We hit them hard, so they see green.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. BJ on GameDay, NRL Supercoach, back again for another week. As always, you got Brent Bogan, and joined once again, he's become a bit of a regular on the show these days. Adrianosaurus Rex, mate, how are we?
I mean, it's been a few, hasn't it? I think it's a bonus when you have no kids. I guess, you got a bit more free time, as long as I can wangle it with the missus and that. And, much like a lot of the guys in the BJ, group, I love Supercoach. I just love it. And so I do my own podcast, and I talk at any time with anyone. So it's a pleasure to be on.
Oh, we love to have you, mate. We love to have you. You got more starts on the far lap on you, more than Joshy at least for this year, mate. We'll give you that much. How'd you feel in round 16, mate? Round 16 review, round 17 preview this week. How'd we go?
Yeah, I mean, I got a 1472 this week. It's a pretty good score. I got some green arrows. I only got 142 green arrows. So, I was hoping to crack the top 1,000, but now I'm sitting in 1,009th. So I'm like right on the cusp. But I didn't have everything go my way in the round. So, I was happy enough with the 1472 and green arrows. So, yeah.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Green arrows are always good, better than the alternative. Bogues, mate, how are you this evening? How'd you go this week, mate?
It's par for course for me, it seems. It's fucking that's the thing. Like last year before, 1,200, you'd be cheering. This year you get 1,200. It's just like, fuck this game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 1350 is the new 1,200, I think, this year. But look, wasn't overly pretty for myself there. 1325 this week. Dropped 200 spots with the 1325 into still hovering around that top 15k. So it's just abysmal. Just keeps getting abysmal. Just can't really get on the upper at the moment. Finding it a little bit difficult. Anyway, it just tends to be par for the course, as you said, Bogues, with me in Classic this year. But we look ahead to round 17, boys. Obviously, the second bye round of the season, and we've been dealt a fair bit of news throughout the week, and there's been a few injuries to some key players, and obviously we had the fiasco that was Paul Vaughan's house party throughout the week.
Apart from, I don't think they should have sacked Paul Vaughan, but.
He's got a bit of form, though. He did the same thing on putting the fake name last go, and I think there's been a little bit behind closed doors as well that he's done, and they've let it slide. So he's got form.
I think it's fucking hilarious. Jack DeBellin hiding under the bed.
Oh, mate.
Surely someone was filming it on their phone. The cops going into the room and lifting up the mattress, and there's Jack.
Mate, how shameful is it? I mean, after everything he's been through, you got to just try to keep it classy now, haven't you? But just the old hiding under the bed, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a easy way to clear up some cap space for the Dragons as well, to be honest. I think he's on about 700-800k, old Vaughan. So, off he goes, and there was a few fines handed out, and, the majority of the first grade squad were there. So, yeah, look, quite interesting. That one probably doesn't have a massive impact on Supercoach, let's be honest, but, nothing like NRL players that cause a bit of controversy throughout the season. So, we do look ahead to round 17, but first up, we got the review of round 16, boys. So we'll start off the review with the Roosters and Storm game. Now, I know there's been a lot talked about ADOS of the new rule set, but what's doing here? The Storm putting 46 on the Roosters. I mean, this was a grand final matchup only, 2 seasons ago. What do you make of this one? I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, look, I mean, the reality is, the Roosters have probably lost some key people this year. We can't I mean, the players that you put in there. I mean, you just add Radley and Keary to that team, and it's a big difference. Teddy was 95 average last year, and the best player in Supercoach 45. I don't know, it's Melbourne, but the Melbourne are just, it's Melbourne and Penrith, and then a country mile to anyone else. And I'll tell you the reason why is because they've just adapted to the six again really well, more than because they're good, smart coaches, and they're teams that have got a good depth. So they've felt injuries less than other teams. We've said in previous shows, like Melbourne loses to Pappenhausen, you've got Hines, who's just about to go into Origin camp. Like, that's how good their replacements are. But the speed of the way that Melbourne use the six again to their advantage is because you've got the greatest coach in the land, and Bellamy has got them humming along beautifully. And, they just... there's a huge gap between Melbourne and Penrith and everyone else.
So what would you do? You put your Volandis hat on. What would you do?
Yeah.
You're getting criticism of those blowout scores. What's your move?
Well, I'll tell you. Over the off season, I don't know if you know this, but they used to have the six again for ruck infringements. Now they do it for offsides as well. So I think that adding more to the six again things that you can give six against for is the biggest mistake they could have made, because it's just made it way too many of them. That's number one. So you need to have six against for less things, not more things.
Well, I've always been in favour of increase the interchange as well. Allow greater rotation of your guys on the bench onto the field. I don't know if we need to go back to the unlimited interchange, but if we did, that would mitigate the questions when it comes to the HIA and replacements and stuff like that. But they have to do something to mitigate it, because these cricket scores are getting ridiculous. And as we go through these scores, I
mean, I think they've got to reduce the amount of things they can give a six again for. Like, just because six again came into the game, it didn't mean that we had to lose the penalty, And sometimes you can see the way they manipulate it now. They get the deep kick and then they purposely infringe on the first ruck, and keep teams, because they're only losing a tackle. So they give their line a chance to reset, and teams are abusing it. So I think
that's the other thing
they've
too.
got to cut it.
They start to look at getting rid of the zero tackle as well, and going back to
maybe they do.
But they need to do something. I like the six again. I don't like the game being pulled up with penalties, but I really do think they need to counterbalance it.
Yeah, you got to find a happy medium. Maybe if winning the team that scores kicks off, at least gives the team that's losing a chance to be in possession. I don't know, but you can see this way when a team's just
kicks off. Are you talking about actually whoever's in the lead kicks off? Okay.
No, well, whoever scores kicks off instead of the other team kicks off, gives it back to the Melbourne Storm, who are 20-0, winning. Gives at least gives some possession back to the other team that's getting rolled. I don't know, but they've increased it this year to the 10 meters, which I think they need to scrap for next year. And look, you hear refs on the mic going, "Oh, you need to up the six agains." And how often does in the first half one team gets 6 of them, and then in the next half another team gets 4? They're obviously scripting it. How many six agains are you looking at the screen where they call six again and you cannot see at all what it's for? No one's lying down in the ruck. They look like they're all back 10 meters, but it's a six again.
In this day and age of technology, and they could bring up the video ref could hit a little button when it's six again, so it comes up on the screen to say offside infringement or something like that. But
I know one thing it has done is it's the less penalties means there's been less scrutiny on the refereeing. Sort of as you touched on, Ados, like we're all sort of saying the rule set this, the rule set that, but we're not talking about the number of penalties that are being blown. Is what we have really talked about in the past and how much of an impact the refs have had. It sort of seems to take the attention off that for some reason, but
yeah. But I mean, they're using 6 agains as a penalty now, and
there's no accountability for it though from that ref's perspective. It's not they're not under as much scrutiny for calling a number of 6 agains as they were for hammering a penalty count one way or the other. But yeah, the game's definitely changed, and it's probably means the modern day football is going to have to change as well, because gone are the days of now 120 kilo forward or anything like that. It's young blokes in there.
Yeah, I saw Christian Welsh. He was taking questions on Twitter and just letting punters ask him questions, and they ask him about what does he think about the game, and he's like, look, they've sped it up so much, and you can understand that they want to do that to create fatigue and blah and blah, but it's taken out the grind and it's taken out the close match, and it feels like a different game to him out there. Now he's in the team that's on top of the ladder and streaking away, winning it, and he doesn't even like the way it feels out there as a player. So they've. If you overcorrect, which I think they have, with what they can give a 6 again for, I like the 6 again too personally, but it's got to be stripped right back what a 6 again's for, and then maybe we tidy up the ruck and we do get the fatigue that we want, but we're not in games now. Teams are getting like 5 of them in a row, and then you might as well just turn your TV off. As soon as a team gets that big massive momentum shift, it's game over.
Even in your close games, you still got these close games where both teams score 40 points. Like, it's just the level of scoring is getting beyond ridiculous. And
when you speed it up, they're going to all be fucked. They're fucked in the games.
The other thing we won't be doing is adding a 17th club anytime soon, because if you think it's bad now, imagine when the talent's stretched even more for another club. I don't think that can be something that's happening given the state of the game at the moment. We might need a merger and combine a few of these Sydney clubs together and make a super club. Just to
will never happen.
Anyway, back to the Supercoach, boys. Oh, it'll never happen, but back to the Supercoach. It was the Storm getting the job done, and credit to them, they've adapted. Bellamy's adapted, and they're just business as usual. Absolutely giving it to the Chooks. It was Nico Hines rewarding owners once again. 104 top scorer from the game. He scored a try, had his hand in one, couple of line break assist, and the goal kicking was, I guess, the icing on the cake with young Nico on the weekend, kicking plenty of goals there. Ados, someone I never jumped on this season, which is obviously hurt, given his current 5-round average is about 100. And I think looking at his stats here from round 7, he's been absolutely phenomenal. And he had 3 rounds there from round 10, 11, and 12 where he went 180, 130, 150. By this week for the Storm, do you hold Hines until Pap's back, or is it the week to trade him? What are you doing with Hines?
Yeah, I mean, look, last week it was will I sell Hines or will I sell Gutho? I sold Gutho with the hard matchup, and I was really glad to get the 100 from Hines. Well, simply put, you can hold Hines until further notice, because there's conflicting reports about when Pap comes back, whether it's 18 or whether it's 20. Well, you hear one of those two things. Now, if he comes back 20, you get 18, 19, and probably even 20 with Pap. You could keep Hines because, you think that Pap might come back on limited minutes. But at the very least, even if Paps comes back for round 18, there's every chance that Munster rests after Origin, and you might get Hines at 5'8". So you are inevitably going to have to sell Hines, but while ever Hines is playing 80 minutes of football, it's almost like you can just lock a ton in. His low is 75, so he's sensational.
The fact you can get him in that centre wing, which is probably where the majority of people should have him, and the break even's 107, which is very achievable against Newcastle next up, and then the Cowboys next start after that. So, yeah, I think you're spot on. He's a joy to have had if you jumped on, and he's just been, the difference. One of the guys that has just killed me this season. But yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. Look, there was just a peppering of scores across the park, as you'd expect from the winning team, the team that wins by near 50. Top scorer from the Chooks is Angus Crichton with 54. So that was pretty disappointing. A few people jumped on Hughes with the obviously the news that Cleary would be out for a number of weeks.
Yeah, me. I did.
Ados, you did that trade as well. Look, it could have been better, I guess. Could have been worse. You know, he still made a bit of cash, and he's still a great buy. Obviously, won't play this week, but you know, he's sort of kept for the run home pretty much. And if Cleary returns, you might be able to transition somehow if you got a spare 500,000. But you know, they can't all score hundreds every week, can they? I did play Sawali, so I chucked Sawali in there. I just thought, you know, maybe he can bag a meat pie or something like that. How bad did that turn out in the end? So, and it looks like he hasn't been named this week in the starting team, which is the icing on the cake there. But not much to write home in that one for the Chooks. Sammy Walker was pretty quiet, as you'd expect, and yeah, he's looking pretty cheap as well. But you know, the kid's getting absolutely hammered out there. He copped it in that game as well.
The Melbourne an absolute juggernaut when it comes to defence, and they'll pick apart a little bloke like Sam Walker. Obviously, we're going into the bye now, but you play Walker this week with absolute confidence against the Bulldogs, because this is the kind of matchup that you want Sam Walker for. And if you played him last week and you had him in your team, he was probably just a bit short-sighted, because he was never going to do well against Melbourne. You wouldn't have thought, and he didn't.
No, he didn't. So, anyway, on to this week with him. Next up, and there was a bit of contrast in a few of these games throughout the weekend. It was either 50-something to nil or 60-plus nil to a couple of one-pointers, and it was St. George giving themselves a reason to party on the weekend that was. They got up over the Warriors in a bit of a, I think it was Golden Point, wasn't it? Old Corey Norman slotted the field goal on Golden Point to give them the win. I didn't catch this one. I did not see it except the very end of the game, actually the field goal on Golden Point. But Lisi Katoa top scored for the Warriors with 95, scored a try with a line break in there. It looks like he probably played 80 as well, just having a look at the base. A quick look at the base on him there. Benny Hunt top scored for the Dragons with 93, so he's continued to be pretty decent. One guy that's been good for me, I think, for the last month or so, Ados in the hooker position, which has been nice. Just continuing to be pretty solid, which has been good. Vorney, in what has turned out to be his last hurrah for the Red V.
He had a ripping game.
Scored pretty well with an 84. So last time we'll probably see that for a while from old Vorney, the poor bugger. A few, high sort of scores across the board in that one, considering it was pretty low scoring. I jumped on Adam Fanua, and obviously the big one in this one, Ados, was Tohu Harris. Went down pretty early.
What a tragedy.
I brought him in this week.
Yeah, same.
And it looks like he'll be out for possibly 2 to 4, depending on how he recovers from it's an AC joint shoulder.
Yep.
So he only played about 20 minutes, and I think as a result of that, guys like AFB benefited from that. So that was sort of a bit of catch-22. I brought in AFB this week, and he ended up scoring right, but it was sort of counteracted by the fact that I brought in Tohu as well. So
yeah, Tohu is a real unfortunate thing. If you think about it, worst case scenario, 4 weeks. I don't know about you, but I don't have the spare trades to be flicking him, and you'd have to be resigned to never getting him back again. But if you've got Angus Crichton and you've got David Fafita, who else do you want? You're just going to be forced to hold him. And I've been spruiking AFB, and I'm glad that he did well last week. It is inflated by those minutes that he probably picked up as a result. There was a few of those Warriors were going down. But I still think he's a great, on a stretch, you could have him at second front row, but he's a perfect third front rower. And he's going to have Lodge go there next week as well. So that could affect, in a minutes share as well. But he was great. He's a good Supercoach friendly type front rower. So good pickup.
Look, I think you're right. Lodge will be interesting, that dynamic with Lodge. And obviously Tohu missing for a few weeks will probably murky the waters a bit there as well. But, for his price point, it was pretty low risk. It wasn't like he was, close to 600K or anything like that. So, for 400K, you'll take that. He pumped out, 66 points in base in 76 minutes. So, for a big man, he's nearly played the whole game. It's pretty good, but it will be interesting to see the impact Lodge has on him. But, yeah, for the next few weeks while Tohu's out, it might not be Too bad to have old AFB. I've actually got Lodge and AFB, as it turned out. I now have Lodge
what a
for round
bonus.
17. Something that's worked out well for me this
Yeah,
season.
that's nice. I was wondering if anyone we knew in here got the lucky old Lodge.
Yeah, fucking
both
one.
twice.
About time something went well for me this season, mate, in Classic. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, probably that's about it from that one, I reckon.
Yep.
We moved on to Penrith and the Eels and what we were sort of calling game of the round going into the game, boys. And it was the Panthers that got home in the end over Parramatta. No Nathan Cleary, obviously, and it was a missed penalty goal basically on full time from Mitch Moses that would have given the Eels the win. I think it was a penalty was it off the kickoff or something like that? It was quite peculiar what ended up happening, but Penrith held on.
Yep, they did.
I don't think it was overly pretty game, but a close one, which is a bit few and far between this season. IPAP top scored for the Eels, scored a try with a line break, but he was in everything. I think he played 80. Did he play 80? I think he did. On IPAP, no, 72 minutes. Only played 72, but got through a heap of work in that time.
It's nice being an owner of IPAP. I brought him in as well, and after my first two trades, which was Jerome Hughes, so I got a bit of one of his lowest scores of the year, and then I had Tohu. I thought I might have been a curse, and I was going to do something to Papali'i, but Ripper score 122, and I traded out Madison and kept Barney, and he cracked out a 70. It looks like there's a bit of a minutes share there at the Eels, like they rotate around in that back row, and 1 week it's Maddo that gets the minutes, and then the next week it's the others. So
it's a pain in the ass from a Supercoach perspective.
I know, because you feel like you get aggravated when you don't pick the right one to play him in, and you get his 40s or 30s.
But I think IPAP's established himself now as one of the premium. This season obviously being able to pick him in the front row is a massive bonus, and I don't think we're probably going to get that. I don't know if we'll get that luxury next season. If he does, he's going to be the first one picked in the front row, I'd imagine. But if he is a back row only ADOS, do you put him in? Do you put him up there with your Harrises, your Fifis, and your Anguses, or what?
I mean, if he does the exact same role that he's doing this year, I mean, he's averaging over 100. So absolutely, if he gets used the same way he's being used this year, like if you filter your players by front row, he's easily the best front rower, and if you filter him by second row, it's him and David Fafita. He might even be above him now. So he's leading both, and I mean, it would be perfect if he stayed in front row, but I guarantee you he won't. He hasn't played one game there, really, has he, this year?
I thought he slipped in the lock at one point, but yeah, I'd be surprised now that he's sort of found himself out on that edge, but, you never know. So he top scored. Appy was, bounced back. It's been a while since Appy's probably scored that well. He scored a try with 97. The forwards in there for Parra getting through a bit of work as well, meat and potatoes of Brownie and Maddo. So a few scores from the forwards there. A lot
of people brought in Burton or had Burton, and they thought they'd sold Cleary down to Burton, thinking he was going to take that halfback role. And he's gone, and I can't believe he's played in centre with that Tyrone May playing in the halves again. It's just fucking crazy. But Burton went out for an 18. I mean, in the Turbo Sammies, I was up against Billy, and he had Burton and Gutho. Looking at the end of that game, I knew I was winning the. We only had 3 players different, and so the two of his different players were Gutho, who had his worst game of the year, 28, and Burton with an 18. Wow. So, mate, that's some bad luck.
That's just what you want from opposition pods, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that out of Gutho.
No.
But so yeah, I mean, it really probably spells trouble, doesn't it, for the Eels if they can't even get over the line against a Cleary-less Panthers. It's not like the Panthers were full strength as well. They lost Luai at a point as well. They just can't get the job done against the big boys.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit of an issue, isn't it? As I said, Mitch Moses sort of had the opportunity to get the W for his team, and you'd expect him to hit those goals, and he's just hooked it a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So congratulations, Origin for you, Mitch. Yeah.
Here you go. Here's a sky blue jersey for you, Mitchell. So yeah, look, I must admit I do have Burton and Luai, and I didn't play Luai. Burton, because I had to pick one, and I just thought, look, I don't know, I'll just pick Luai. It netted me 13 more points, so it wasn't overly pretty. And I think Luai's now come out of that one pretty well injured.
Yeah,
It's
MCL.
crazy, absolutely crazy. He'll probably miss game 3 now. I think they've not named him anyway. So Whiten, I think, has been named at 6. Mitch Moses at 7.
Yeah.
Luai is 359k ADOS. He's dropped 200k on the season.
Yeah.
I think I brought him in at 550, around 550.
Yeah.
And he's just plummeted ever since. So he'll probably be gone for me this week, I think, Jerome, given the injury and just fucking...
Who are you going to go to, though? Like, you got no money to buy anyone. Like, unless you've got some in the bank.
I got 250 in the bank. So the only annoying thing with that is that the Wires fucking bled all that. So
yeah,
you just sort of have to wear it now, value the trade, and hope he comes back on a run. It's just really fucked up, to be honest. But
yeah, I mean, you could get somebody, if you could get like an SJ or someone that was around 17, maybe that makes up for it, the low that you're going to take a hit on the dollars.
Maybe Burton into 5'8" and a Sam Walker or something possibly.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So
you got at least 3 weeks with no Luai, and there's no guarantee that he comes back and starts picking up his act anyway. I mean, he hasn't been very good. It just hit a point in like round 11 that he just started to suck after that, and Cleary went through the roof. But I don't know, like he's just not having a great year in the 5'8" position.
I reckon every fucking game I watched up until that point, he had spiders on him. No one could tackle him. No one could touch him. He was in everything, and literally just it was a fucking direct correlation with me picking him up. It just went directly opposite. So
yeah, I think Cleary it became the Cleary show.
It did. Anyway,
before we move on to the next game, you guys got a bit of a spoiler of this because it popped up on the preview while I was setting it up. But I was just tweeting the show out, and I noticed that Tommy Sangster had tweeted out his show. And have a look at this. He's ripping off your look there, Brent, a bit there. Like, who's wearing it better? I tell you what, Sangster, he's packed on the pounds a bit, mate. Like, he's went Raging Bull to play the role of Brent Hampton.
Look, I'm not one to throw rocks in, throw stones at glass houses, but he definitely was a bit trimmer in the few seasons gone.
Mate, I think
old Tommy, I reckon.
Tommy Sangster, he's copying your look that much.
Well, we're in a group now that has Sangster in it.
Is he in it? Is he?
Yeah, he's in it. So I've got to be on my best behaviour now because I definitely throw a bit at Sangster.
A bit of shade. You throw a bit of shade there, Wayne.
Oh, he had a bit of. He asked for sledges, so I give
now
him
you've
to
got
him.
the perfect sledge, mate. He's a discount Brent Hampton.
Love your work.
Yeah, we'll screenshot that and we'll get it across.
Yeah, looks good. All right, moving on to the games on the Saturday, and it was the one sort of everyone was waiting for. Once we all knew that Tommy Turbo was playing, and they did not fail us. It was the Eagles just absolutely pummeling the Bulldogs, 66-0, and I reckon they left, 12 or 18 points out there. ADOS in particular, Tommy T, a few points out there, but what can you say? He makes those flanks for the Manly Seagulls look like absolute superstars. You've got Ruben Garrick 169, Jason Saab 162, Tommy 144, Cherry 119. I mean, you've got Toffo Sipley. That's a bit of an outlier there with his double. But
imagine playing a team and you've got 5 tons.
You could put me and you on the wings for Manly, fucking as long as Tommy Turbo's playing.
I'd be as good as Saab, easy.
Look, it's massive scoring, and again, I touched on Hines, mate. Someone that doesn't own Hines. I'm also someone that never jumped on Garrick, and I didn't start the season with Saab, and I think a lot of people just sat on Saab and hoped that once Turbo come back, this is what would happen. But I don't think anyone could have imagined to what extent, Tommy would have an impact on these guys, and it's been enormous. Ruben
Oh, yeah.
Garrick with the goal kicking, kicked 11 from 11 as well. So, he's scoring 120 odd points, and then you add near 50 points just in goal kicking. So, 5
Yeah.
line breaks for Garrick, 2 tries, 11 goals, 4 line breaks for the Saab. The numbers are phenomenal. I think I was in another chat with a couple of mates, and the stats they put up for Tommy Turbo in 8 games, it was like 21 line break assists, 13 try assists, and 8 tries, or something just ridiculous. I can't recall it, but they were Fox Sports stats, so it wouldn't even be the exact, probably not the Supercoach stats specifically, but phenomenal, mate. Absolutely phenomenal scoring.
Turbo could play in the front row. He's actually such a big human. Like, even when the big boys like Luke Thompson or whatever and that go to tackle him, Turbo, he's like 6'5", but he's built, like he's powerful, and he's going to win the Dally M, I reckon. Now that Cleary's been injured, I'm calling it that Tommy Turbo is having like a Jared Hayne 09 type year for momentum wise. People are like, oh, is it a better year than Hayne 09? I've been watching Hayne in 09 was something to behold over that period of games. But since Tommy came back from injury this year, if he keeps going that way, it'll eclipse Jared Hayne 09 easily if he keeps going. Because he's taken Manly from what? They were in 15th, were they, or 14th?
Did they lose their first 5 or something? First 4 or 5?
Yeah, so in 15th, he's taken them from 15th to 5th.
Just as long as he doesn't eclipse Jared Hayne 2021.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the Trebojevic they've been brought up better than that, haven't they?
Yeah. Look, it's honestly like watching under sixes where there's that big kid and no one can tackle him or no one can stop him, and just give him the ball and he's just gonna score the tries and do everything. It's unbelievable. This new rule set just is perfect for him as well. He's just always sniffing around. He's so fit. He's everywhere. Everywhere you look, if Saab's making a line break, there's Tommy. He's just everywhere. So he's got that passing game. It's not just the running game. He can throw that pass to Garrick. He can throw the pass.
He's a target in the air. He's the best fullback in the game at the moment. 100%. Yep, amazing.
So yeah, plenty of people chucked the C on him. There were a couple of forward passes as well to Tommy, and then he also he was inside for another one where someone's bombed it, and then another one where the ball's bounced over him. So it was a bit of what could have been, and it just goes to show how greedy we are, because the 144, I think he finished on around 120 after the game, and then he updated pretty sweet. But it could have been another 200-point game for him, had a few of those stuck.
I think he was rogered on one of them there with one of the forward passes. I think it was fine. But look, you can't sneeze at a 144. And when you get those captains and you get them up near around the 150 mark, it's a success. And I have Garrick. I don't have Saab. I never had Saab. I went Simonson instead of Saab.
Oof.
And Garrick and Turbo, that was a good day for me.
I talked about it last week that can you go Saab at 700k, like really? Oh. And now we're talking about he's gone up nearly 120,000 just this week alone. I mean, he had a low break even, but with the pump out 170 points, he's now nearly 850,000, and he's going to continue to go up. He's been named at fullback this week, obviously with Tommy out, but he's got another negative break even. At this point in time, Ados, like I said, definitely missed the Hines boat, definitely missed the Garrick boat. Saab's definitely more affordable of the two now. I mean, he's only 480k, and you're definitely not getting the same out of Garrick that you'll get out of Saab, but you still will get these scores out of Saab. So I'm thinking,
just not this week.
Yes, just not this week with Tommy out, which will be the week you're probably going to have to bring him in because he's going to make some coin and score 12. But I think I'm going to have to just bring Saab in just for the simple fact that the Eagles are going to put some scores on teams, and at some point Saab will be on the back of it. So
I mean, as soon as Turbo's in their team, you play Saab and Garrick every time. I
think I saw some teams. People not playing Saab. Like, if you're not playing Saab against the Dogs with Tommy in the team, when are you playing him? So they do have some easy fixtures coming up. The Dragons in 18, Tigers, Sharks. They finished with the Dogs, Cows, provided Turbo plays the season out, there's some big scores to come for some of these
And
boys.
I mean, and even this week, if he gets on the outside of anyone, if you give him half a second, he will score. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that was, it was all about those outside flanks for the Eagles and just tries all over the shop. Apart from that, not much really. Bloody Thompson was pretty disappointing. I think a few are sort of bringing him in this week. Ados, he only scored the 52 points, which was a bit of a letdown. Probably the shittest score he's had for a while, actually, old Thompson.
Yeah, probably. But, I mean, look, in the front row, my number is 60 in the front row. He's 52, and he ranges between 50 and 65. So, you just did get a low one in an absolute shellacking. So, if you think about it, 66-0. He's a lot of time under the posts.
That's
and
it.
52. I mean, I brought in Tapau, so you think about 46. And I was either going to bring in Thompson or Tapau, but Tapau did cop a shot in the face and had a lot of time off the field with ice on the face, But hopefully that pays off for me this week, and Tapau has a ripper this week.
Well, and the other prop scored a double, and that very well could have been Big Marty. So you're a bit probably stiff there. So
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, probably that's about it in that one. Dogs in all sorts. So poor Trent Barrett out there. Next one, Ados.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
This one was
how do you
a
feel
touch-up as well.
Me and Brent being from Canberra, we know the feeling of trying to get out of Bruce Stadium of a night of a Raiders game. So if it is a bit of a touch-up, you do leave early. But I tell you what, mate, shocking scenes as they flooded for the gates halfway through the second half.
Mate, I think in the past, as a Canberra Raiders supporter, I've supported them for 30 years. So in my life, we were a shit team, for many years. But one thing that we always did was we'd have a dig, and we had a bit of entertainment in us. But we didn't even have a dig the other night. Like Ricky Stewart at the start of the game says, "Oh, our season starts here." But mate, the effort plays out there were disgusting, and if you can make a team like the Titans look like world beaters, you're so far off the mark. And the week before when we lost to the Dragons, I wasn't expecting much this week, and it was poor viewing.
What's
apart
doing?
from
Ricky's lost the sheds or what?
Oh, he's lost the sheds. There's no doubt about it.
All right, so hypothetical again.
No, it's just
you're Ferner this time. What do you do, Adro?
Yeah, all right. Well, so for me, I think that there's definitely some players that are the issues in there that, it's player managers. And, when clubs get into a bit of that with a bit of player managers and a bit of, stone kicking, so you're going to get rid of rid of Tuppeny. I know it sucks. I love Tuppeny as a player, but he's got a fucking attitude problem, and he all he does is complain. Hodgson, I think, is the problem in there with. He's a lot of it's about Hodgson and doesn't. And what do you think? We look shit with Hodgson at 9. He hogs the ball. He slows down the ruck, and every time Starling comes on in the 10 minutes that he comes on, we look dynamic. Well, not dynamic, but we look a lot better in attack. So Ricky's obviously trying not to lose the room by keeping Hodgson happy and keep him on there starting and hooker. But there's issues, it's not a happy lot of players, and I think that it's time for a rebuild. So you're going to have to start, chucking some of them. I think you got to chuck. I think it's time to retire the captain. The defensive reads on the weekend were, why did we lose Tomoko, who's he's a rugged, tough defender. Nothing was getting past him when he was in there. What did he do to be dropped down to the bench? Mm-hmm. You've got to make the hard decisions as the coach, and if it hurts the egos of your Hodgsons and your Croker. If Croker wants to have a career for the rest of his career, he has to play on the wing because he can't bust a tackle and he can't read a defensive line. If all he's got to do is stay and you just got to manage the sideline. Work him to the sideline.
Is it unfair to say the Raiders are really missing a marquee player?
Well, I mean, Josh Papali is supposed to be the best front rower in the game. Dally M, reigning Dally M medalist, who's going to represent in Origin. I mean, I wouldn't even pick Whiten in Reggie's this year. I mean, who's a shit 6 in the comp? I think that who's one of the ones up at the Broncos he gets under everyone's collar. I reckon he's played a better year.
6. Cam Munster at the moment, but
well, he had a good game on the weekend. But Whiten he did nothing in that game. The game before he's about to go into Origin, he's playing for a 6 jumper. So I don't think there's a lot having to dig. Why is a player like Hudson Young down in Reggie's? You know, it's supposed to be one of the best up and comers. You know, so I just think you know, they need to do a roster overhaul, and I think it's going to be Hodgson out, and it's going to have to be Croker out, and you just need to rebuild. They need to go in for a quality 7. How they let someone like Sean Johnson slip through, and then they were looking for Widdop. They need to get a quality 7 in there, because if you leave it up to Whiten, he goes missing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have Sammy Williams. Obviously plugs a hole for a bit, but he's obviously not, you know, top half. And as long as Whiten's never been a dominant 6. He had that. I don't think he was the Dalian medalist last year. Granted, he had a better year, but yeah, they're at a loss there. And obviously with Charn's out, you don't have a dynamic fullback, and you need that in the modern game. I've just seen this afternoon that Dufty's seeking a release, possibly wants to come immediately to the Raiders. So, I mean, I think Charns is a brilliant footballer, but I don't know whether he could be playing in the halves. I think they want to chuck him at centre, but something's got to change. And they've just sort of seemed to lost the shreds.
I think, you know, when your problem is you got defence and you're averaging 40 points a game this year, you don't bring over someone like Dufty to your team.
You're right. So some hard decisions happen to be made at Canberra, that's for sure.
Who goes first? Some of these players you listed off, or Ricky Stewart?
I don't think Ricky will go. I think that Ricky's a legend of Canberra, and I think he's got the backing of the board. I think that Ricky at the moment is trying to keep people happy like Hodgson and that. But over this off-season, I wouldn't be surprised if Tuppeny goes, Hodgson goes, you know, and a few of them are out the door. You know, a Rapana maybe even. You know, yep, it could be clean out of some of the big names in there, and just you got to. It's when it gets this, you can see that it's rotten. It's rotted away now. So we're going to have to dig those out and just start to try to grow again. We're going to have to.
Look, it was as a result of the scoreline. It was obviously plenty of Titans scored well. Jamal Fogarty top scored with the ton, scored a try, set a couple up, kicked plenty of goals. Brimson bounced back with a 93, had line break assist galore, set up a try. Mofo scored a pretty soft one as well. DFF crossed as well, 82. I brought him in last week. Look, he took a near 40k hit, but that's all right because he's now been suspended for Origin, which means he's going to be playing around 18, which probably wasn't looking likely. So that's beautiful. Yeah. Worked out well. Look, scores across the park from the Titans as you'd expect. Canberra, nothing special to write home about. Josh Papali'i top scored to 72, and CHN just continues to be pretty good in a pretty ordinary side, to be honest. 61 there, just on base basically. So.
I think that'll do us on that game. It's been a long time since a game is just a really, made me feel down and just down for the rest of the weekend. And I was down. I felt down ever since.
All right, we'll move on from that one, Ados. We'll forget about that one, mate.
All right.
We'll talk about my boys, and it was Newcastle. 38 mil over the Cows. I don't know. Ponga back. Ponga back. Watson back. Pearce. Oh, sorry, Ponga and Pearce back. Obviously, Ponga had a brilliant game. Connor Watson scored a double top score with 107. Kalen, scored a double, set a couple up. Obviously makes a massive difference to our side, especially when he's off the back of Pearce. But it was the first game Clifford has played with Pearce and Ponga, and the width we're able to get, pretty quickly with, the pass from dummy half from Brayley to Pearce to Clifford to Ponga. it adds just a different dimension. The speed at which they can get the ball out on those edges, and when you have someone like Kalen Ponga and the speed of the game, it looks really good. It was actually thoroughly enjoyable for once as a Newcastle fan. It's added a very different dynamic having Clifford there. I know he's not the best young half in the game, but his passing game and kicking game is pretty solid. And if we can keep
he's a good defender, and I think doing your apprenticeship next to someone like Pierce is a great opportunity for him. I think, and having someone like Ponga in there to just distribute ball to. So I think he just keep it simple the way he did on the weekend and play his role. And we always knew that Ponga coming back to that team would make a huge difference. But getting Ponga and Pierce at the same time, they looked a heck of a lot better. So I imagine Adam O'Brien is just like, oh, thank the Lord Christ. And hopefully Ponga stays healthy, because it's not like turbo type thing, but he's been out. He's had a long layoff, and he made a huge difference to him on the weekend, big time. So the Cows were just bloody disgraceful.
Yeah, look, we needed that, and that was one of those games that was like, surely with these boys back we win, and it was nice just to make sure of it. Yeah, look, not much to write home about with the Cows. Obviously, in a team that doesn't score many points, and at this point of the season, you probably don't have heaps of them. I know they do play this week, the bye round, but it's hard to pick any of them. Whether you brought in Lolo or not. He scored 60 points. How many minutes did he play on the weekend? But again, I think he got
just around 6. He's at a point per minute, and he looks like he's getting near 60 minutes now. So
he did play 60 pretty much. Yeah, you're right. 460k. I mean, if you're struggling with Tohu out, you could probably do worse for the price point.
Yeah. Yeah. You could.
But apart from that, like I said, there might be a few diamonds in the rough there, but I wouldn't, given, the state of play with trades at this point, ADOS, I wouldn't be really rushing to bring any of them in just for this week and then, the run home. So,
no.
Yeah.
No, anyway. Nothing in there. Val had a bit of a shit game, and, obviously you don't get him for this game, but that'll be concerning for people who are thinking about him for the run home. But, it is a 38-0 dropping, so, what are you going to do?
Well, I think he got the suspension as well, so does he miss Origin now? Did he actually get
No, he's in. He got a fine for that.
No, he got a fine. I can't ever pick when they're fining or suspending or what.
Oh, you never know, mate. But I think that maybe Origin, I think, at fullback might have dented Val's confidence a bit. So, I mean, in the home run, hopefully he builds up that confidence again, because he looked shot on the weekend.
Yeah. First game on the Sunday, it was Brisbane getting up over the Sharkies in what was, an upset, basically. Yeah. This one was a bit of a grind early, and they just hung around with them and got over them in the end. I did see a little bit of this game. There was a couple of dubious calls. There was a no try that was, there was a try that was taken away from the Sharks where they called a knock on and.
Mate, the bunker is corrupt. They're like, shit, we just missed a 3-meter forward pass. Let's just call it a knock on because he juggled a little bit before he passed it. It's just like, do you think we're fucking dumb, you idiots? We've been watching the game for years.
Brought to you by Sportsbet.
Look, there's a howler.
I'm all for, the correct decisions being made, but that was a blatant misuse of, the bunker, and that's not a knock on any day of the week. Every person that watches rugby league knows that. Yes, the decision was right in the end, but that's not the point. It's having a lend of us, basically. Yeah. But anyway, as it was the Broncos got the job done. Tessie Newitt, fullback, top scorer with 104.
Yes, I'll tell you what, he really tweaks my interest now. Now that Lodge is gone, he played bulk minutes, and the effort plays. You saw that 80th minute chasing down the ball. Payne's back. He's back.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because he played the same number of minutes he played the week before, but the base was a little bit higher, and
he's good in Origin in this year as well. So, I mean, surely he played more minutes this week than he normally does.
He played 64, and he played 64 last week, and I mean, he's got the try assist in there as well, so that inflated him a little bit. But you're right. I mean, now Lodge is gone effective immediately. I think Fledger was out you've got to imagine at his price point, like we touched on him last week at 470k, and you thought you didn't have to get him in, but given everything that's happened, you can't imagine he's going to, score under 60, less than 60, average less than 60 for the run home.
Yeah,
Mate,
if you get
surely
65,
now.
if you get 60, 65 minutes, you go to a point and a half ppm. He could be a run home if you get him, post at 18. Well,
So he'll obviously play Origin this week, and then we'll see whether he backs up. But definitely on the watch list now. Sharky side of things, your team's doing well. And Aiden Tolman top scores, 83 for him with a little funny try in there. He did get a little innocuous tie in there. SJ was pretty good in a beaten side, 75. You'll take that all day of the week. Will Kennedy's just turned out to be a great little footy player. He's just a pleasure to watch. Really, but Staggs returned as well. I think he looked good on return, coming back from an ACL ADOS. He didn't play out the game. I think he got a pretty early shower. He got spelled quite early in that second half, I think.
I think he came back on late when they had an injury. But he looked good. He seemed to really lift their energy. Between him and Campbell, they just looked like a bit more of an energised team. And, I think now in your centre wing, have you got the luxury of bringing in a whole bunch more? I don't know. But he looked good. And as did Raymian over the other side, who's a great option for round 17. A lot of people might have already brought him in. But Raymian, if you look at his scores, he doesn't go below 50. And he's probably anywhere. His wheelhouse is 50 to 75. He's really, he's solid player this year.
Yeah, for sure. I jumped on Raymian this week. Thought there might be some more points out there, but you take a 62 with no attacking.
Yeah, with
stats.
nothing much. I mean,
there's no attacking stats in there, so that's a great score.
Yeah, and if he gets an attacking stat on top of that, you're 80s. So so it's not bad for no attacking stats.
Mate, I just want to touch on him because we've talked about him. Talakai is hooked pre-game, has played fuck all minutes, don't know what's doing, but you're probably glad you didn't get on him if you didn't go early, but I've gone early and now I'm stuck with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good reading for him because I think the problem with Talakai is his defensive reads, and they've obviously gone with Wilton there as the to get the main spot, and he's just a lemon. He's a trap.
He's a trap. He's the definition of trap at the moment. Wilton's, got that starting spot again this week, which is not a good sign, and he only played 30 minutes. So I didn't play him on the weekend, but he's just going to bleed.
Well, hopefully this week he goes on and gets over for a try, a barge over try or something in the minutes that he's on the field.
Or someone gets injured early. Not that I'm assuming players get injured, but...
Yeah, the Sharks haven't lost a single player, have they?
No, not really. I don't think there's really much. No, Graham's obviously out, but they're not missing any Origin players, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely not Mulatalo anyway. That's probably about it from that one though. Brisbane getting the upset. And to finish it off, it was a game that at least both teams scored some points, and it wasn't a hammering, but it was the Rabbitohs getting the job done pretty comfortably in the end over the Tigers.
Yep.
Points everywhere.
Yeah, points everywhere. Souths didn't really go on with it here, and I think that, from reports that a lot of the, Brent Reid and all them said that it was going to be an A-Ray and Walker state of origin, but apparently, Freddie was shitty about how much they flopped in the second half. Now, Cody Walker was in the 90s at half time. Nothing in the second half. And Alex Johnson was already over 100 before half time. So in the second half, you got the old too many cooks spoil the broth, which I don't know if you noticed that Souths do that, but they all just... Benji was just... You saw him for 10 minutes, Reynolds and Walker screaming for the ball, and him just... Benji just dishing off to a forward and trying to get a crash over try. They looked like a dog's breakfast in the second half when they all got a bit greedy. But look, you'll take a ton from Johnson. You'll take Graham is a little under the radar. Great buy. He's been a good. They're going right now more often. So he's a big, tall, powerful, center, and he's turned up a couple of weeks in a row. Cody Walker 99. He left a lot of points out there. Cam Murray was good lead up to Origin. There's some good scores, and they're obviously relevant because they're going to be in the bye this week, But there's some good scores, but they could have been a heck of a lot better. I was disappointed.
We'll take Cody playing this week because I thought he was all but guaranteed. Not guaranteed, but looking very likely for that 6. So
yeah, I mean, I had a feeling that they'd go with White and Moses, but I feared that Cody Walker would go in as the 14. And them going Appy, I breathe a sigh of relief because, I mean, we'll talk obviously when we get into this week about numbers going into this bye, but I'm skint. I'm very skint.
Yeah, don't worry, mate. You're not the only one. It's going to be a very interesting round of Supercoach, that's for sure. But that was round 16, all done and dusted. And, what a round that it was.
Yeah.
Now, we look ahead to round 17, only the 4 games, obviously, with Origin during the week. And we will have, first up, we have the Eagles taking on your boys.
Yeah.
I will let you talk on this one. Obviously, Origin players will not be featured this weekend.
Yep.
So no Tommy Turbo is a pretty big one, but Garrick Owner's happy. What are some of the things you're looking at with this one, Ados?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got Garrick and at fullback in the last game, even though it didn't actually, in Supercoach, he didn't score super well. In actual NRL, he looked like he improved in the fullback position. So I think, he might still score well this week. As Saab, I fear a little bit without Turbo in there, but I think that Garrick at fullback, hopefully, especially if it depends, if we get anything close to what the Raiders have been running out as, and they've lost Papali'i, he was the only player I would have said deserved to pull on the jersey last week, can hold their head high. So, but look, I think Foran and Dylan Walker will still get the ball out to them against the Raiders. And if you look at our edges now that it's Croker and that, and we got Matt Frawley in the halves, there's going to be opportunities here for Manly. I don't think they're going to have the no turbo hangover. I think they're going to flog it in. Over the other side, I mean, hopefully Ben Travojevic gets some minutes because he's everyone's got Ben Travojevic, I think. But for his -1s and all, but hopefully he gets like 30 minutes on that bench, and he can get some points.
Well, Tommy tried to give him a try on the weekend, but they took it off him.
Oh, well, they tried to make Saab give him one too, but Saab just ignored him and went for the try.
Said, fuck yeah.
Yeah. But over the other side, obviously Bailey Simonson is injured, which was a bit of a blow as well for me because he was one of my numbers. But look, he hasn't been scoring well anyway. But I tell you what, this Xavier Savage, if you haven't, go on Twitter, go to the Canberra Raiders page. They got a book of, they got a little video package of his highlights. He's faster than Saab.
So, guaranteed. Mate, I've actually seen, it was only in the last few weeks, I saw a future Queensland team and his name popped up. And that was the first time they had him on the wing. Yep. The first time I saw his name and I thought, who's this kid? He's been named at fullback this week, so it'll be a good opportunity to see him if you haven't seen him play. But yes, there's big raps on him. He's expected to be quite the footballer, and given we have not seen him feature and that he's actually been named as like a future Queensland winger, is quite a big rap
on him. Yep. Yeah. So I mean, look, in this game, I think without Tommy, you take a leg away from Manly, so it could be a high-scoring, interesting sort of watch. But I'm excited as a fan because I haven't had a lot to be excited about to see Xavier Savage because, mate, him in the clear being chased down by Saab will be something to behold. And, what do you got with the Raiders? In the halves, Matt Frawley and Sam Williams. That could be the worst. That could be the worst halves combination you've ever seen. Jesus Christ.
George Took, send us out there. Dead set. Yeah, look, I think CHN's probably the biggest target from that green machine this week if you don't already have him. Hudson Young's back there, but obviously it's probably pretty short-lived with Whitehead copping that laceration.
Hopefully Ryan James gets some good minutes in there, and a lot of people might have held him or had him on their bench, because he wasn't playing.
Yeah, for sure. But I think if you still have him or whatever, you'll play him this week. You'll play everything. You'll play Ben Trebojevic this week.
Yeah.
You'll take what you can get. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I think CHN is probably the main one. And
I'll be tipping the Eagles, and I mean I'm even tempted to maybe VC Ruben Garrick, but I don't think I will. But because of just how much Manly suffer without Tom Turbo, but he's definitely an option if you don't have an AJ or these high ceiling players. I think Garrick could ton up this week. I think it's potentially he could. So Raiders are terrible to opposition fullbacks.
Yes, so that'll start us off. Second game in the bye week, round 17. So we'll have the Thursday game, and then we'll just have the one Friday game, and we'll see South Sydney taking on the Cowboys. A few changes in this one as well. A couple of fullbacks, sort of debut fullbacks. I've never even heard of Blake Taffy either.
He's supposed to be the next one next year that replaces Adam Reynolds in the halves, So I'm surprised to see him in the fullback. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought he was the halfback. But
I've not actually seen that name before at all.
Yeah.
I haven't followed too closely, but yeah, he's been named at fullback with Latrell and Origin duty. Braden Burns comes in. Obviously, most people probably have Walker or should have Walker. If you don't have Walker, I think it's safe to bring him in because he is a keeper 5'8" for the run home, just based on his ceiling alone and given the fact he's playing this week.
I'm playing in the 6 too because in the previous games when Latrell was out, they were playing him at fullback and he was pretty stinky back there. Mm-hmm. So him in the 6 is way better.
He is in the 6, you're right. So I thought they might have chucked AJ back there actually, but they're obviously happy with the job he's doing out on the wing there.
Yep.
I didn't think they would have named Campbell Graham and Colin Matangi, but they have. So because they're not
not in there.
They're released.
They're
released out of camp. So they'll be able to play pending someone getting injured in camp.
Look at that bench, number 17 for South. Can you say that last name?
I cannot. Peter Mamazoulias. I have no idea what it's called. Oh, Mamo. We're calling him Peter Mamo. Never heard of him either. So a few guys getting some opportunities this weekend as well. And on the Cowboys side of the field, Dijon Arcee was a kid we saw last season who looked pretty good in the halves. He's been given the one jersey for them, but I don't know. Find some relevance in that Cowboys side at this point. Given the hot commodity that trades are and where we're at, just given it's going to be a bring them in for this week. Lolo's probably
Mamuzalos. All right. The only one that I'd be interested in would be Tomalolo. If I had a couple more trades, I would probably pull the trigger. With him being on 60 minutes and going up to... he seems like he's on the improve. I think I've seen enough to feel like he's improved and is a reasonable buy. But he's... Maddo and Barnett and Tomalolo are 60s when Fafita and Tohu and IPAP and stuff are 80, 90, 100s, So you got to get Lolo knowing that you're going to be paying for him to be your 5th front rower in the run home or something, but
which I think is pretty good, really. Yeah. For whatever his price is, I think it's not a bad trade this week.
Yeah, definitely. And
you're right.
60 minutes, he'll get you 60 or more, and you can take hope in the fact that he's been consistently the minutes have been better, so it's not the worst.
No, good shout. I might have a closer look at that trade this week just because. Yeah, I think he's nice enough for a 5-6 back row to run home and give you an extra body this week.
Yep.
And I think not too much cash to get to him. You might even make some money depending on how you get into him. So I like it.
Yeah, I mean you do hope in this game that South's in Sydney the Cowboys are terrible on the road. Terrible. They can't travel. So ordinarily I would have said they haven't lost much the Cowboys in personnel. But hopefully it's just an absolute friggin' smash up because I'm sure a lot of... I've got AJ and Cody Walker. A lot of people have Milne, and hopefully they just all rip heads off and score big, go on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, most people are going to have either that blue ribbon or the yellow ribbon on Cody, whether it's a VC or a C, depending on who you got playing in that Manly Canberra game. But yeah, there's some good matchups for a bye round. We're pretty lucky, I think.
Yeah, I think in that option, if you're looking at VC, Walker and Johnston, and Burns, but probably Johnston because he's on that left side, and Cody, who's going to be the one delivering it. They're great VC options. You can see tons out of both of them.
For sure. All right, moving on to the third game, and this will be on the Saturday night. So obviously, given less fixtures, we just have the Saturday night game, and it will be the Dogs taking on the Roosters. And I mean, the Roosters are pretty. I'm not going to say they're obviously full strength. No Teddy.
Yeah, but I mean, Manu's better at fullback this year almost than Teddy.
I mean, it's a pretty reasonably strength Roosters side. So they obviously got belted last week, but they don't shape up too badly this week. I think the interesting one in these ones, Ados, was the addition of Billy Smith at centre.
Yeah. I mean, I think they've been saying that he's been playing well. Has he been playing Reggie's? Or he's been training well, and Robbo said he's banging on the door. So I don't know if they're going to make a late change and bring in what's his name? Suwali, but he was pretty rubbish last week. Suwali, he didn't look too good out there.
No, he's definitely not a winger, that's for sure. Mel, you got caught out big time. But yeah, I mean, he was knocking on the door before he did the ACL, or Billy Smith, and that was the only reason he hasn't been in the picture. It was the ACL injury. So he's back now, and yeah, this was Suwali was a body I'd counted for 17. So this is a bit of a
it's a
curler.
big blow. It's a blow.
It's a bit like the Simonson one. If you had Simonson and you had Suwali and you had Tohu, it's been a massive shock this week because there's three guys you probably expected to definitely play.
Yeah, I mean, I lost Simonson, I lost Tohu, and I lost Schuster because he's a 1 week longer.
Well. Absolutely, Schuster's anher big one for sure. We didn't touch on that. Yeah, so
but I think you'll see actually an improvement in the Roosters. Obviously, they're up against light opposition, but Victor Radley will make a big difference to their slick play because he's a link person. He's kind of him and Yo, I think, are the best ball distributing, defensive, strong, ball playing locks in the game. And I think he'll make a big difference to him. But you would be expecting big games out of Tupanua, Takiaho. These are people that people would own. Sam Walker, this is a matchup where I think there are going to be a lot of those Harbour Bridge balls because the Dogs are not a quality outfit that can defend or get up on him the way that other teams, the quality teams, do. So I would expect there's going to be a shit ton of points for Tupu and tries this week. And, I think you'll see a big scoreline here for sure. So, I mean, if I had Joey Manu, some people brought in Joey Manu, I'd captain him. I would 100% captain him if I had him. He's so dynamic in fullback. He's a great fullback player.
He is. He's in everything. So, yeah, you could bring him in. Tupu we touched on, I think, last week or the week before. Sammy Walker, as you said, Ados. So, yeah, definitely some good options. And, yeah, Radley will free Sammy up a bit or just give him, give him that extra option. So I think that'll be good for him. Dog side of the park, again, not much relevance classic-wise. You got your Lukey Thompsons. I wouldn't even be, looking at Jackson at this point. But, apart from that, it's hard. Avrilo was on a tear, obviously was contained last week, given they got hammered. But, at this point of the season, like I said, given the hot commodity that trades are, you're more likely to go your Manus, your Walkers, because they are going to be playable in your run home and might be a sit or start depending on their opposition.
Yeah,
I mean, these Dogs players, you're not going to want to play him in the news.
Well, someone was messaging me and they were saying they're going to bring in Jeremy Marshall-King, but he's not even picked this week. What's happened to him? He'll be spewing whoever that guy that messaged me because he's not even in there now for the bye.
Yeah, look, hopefully
he's averaging 70. Oh, the Whisperer was spruiking Jeremy Marshall-King too, saying saw 2 games from him where he got a 60 and 70 and said bring him in for the run home. He'll be the top scoring hooker, but he's not even in there this week. What's happened?
Suspension there. So yeah, obviously, hopefully those blokes have checked team lists this afternoon or will do before the game. But yeah, I think Roosters as well. If you're VCing a South player maybe you can find a C in this one, whether it's a Satilia or a Sammy, you might be, even a Tupu or a Joey Manu, like you said. Might be able to throw a bit of caution in this one, but the Dogs are looking pretty ordinary.
Yep.
And to round out 17, it'll be probably what I expect to probably be one of the better games of this round, or it will be. I think it should be a bit closer anyway, and it will be the Sharks taking on the Warriors. Sharks, yeah, as we touched on sort of earlier, they're pretty much unchanged, right, Ados? Like no players picked out, no players out due to Origin. Moylan was ruled out late last week. And is out again this week. So Tracy moves into 5'8" there, and Will Chambers is back into the centres. So they're pretty much full strength. And the Warriors, they got Reece Walsh back. Obviously no Tohu, so Jazz Tavanga comes in. No Josh Curran as well, so that's probably another one as well, Ados. We all knew that the COVID thing was going to happen, but I had held Curran specifically for that. I traded him last week, so I'm actually glad he fucking wasn't named this week. I would have been sick. But Curran was another one. But Lodge will play this week. He's been named to start with Adam there at the bookends. So that's good to see as someone that had Lodge for the Brisbane bye and the Brisbane playing in round 13. And now you get him for 17. And he was scoring well for Brisbane the last sort of month or so.
Oh, mate, he's been good. Yeah, he's been real good.
One of their better players. So this game could be a bit closer. Mate, I'm a Teddy owner. I don't know. I'm going to have a closer look. Obviously, I don't really start to have a real close look until the team lists come out to get a bit of an idea of who's playing.
Yeah.
I was thinking that maybe Reece Walsh would be pretty loose, but I'm not sure what to do with Teddy. What would you do if you owned Teddy?
I would sell Teddy.
And who would you go to?
I mean, if I had Turbo as my other half, I would be trying to get Paps, to finish off the year. But if I needed something right now, I think that Reece Walsh as a loose sort of option. But I don't think that Reece Walsh is going to get you more than 100. Whereas Pap and Turbo get you 200s. So that's what you want in your fullback. So you could do a 1 week cheap type fullback like Joey Manu, where you don't have to spend that much and you can pick him in your centre wing. But Reece Walsh is not the worst. I mean, in this week, I think your two best fullback options are Reece Walsh and Manu.
Yeah, for sure. I think Walsh, like you said, he does have that ceiling, but he's also consistently got the 40s in him. I was just sort of thinking, what the fuck am I doing? But maybe I'll have to dump him and swap a centre wing into that fullback spot and try and figure something else out, whether it's... Yeah. Anyway, I'm fucking... Maybe, like I said, it's just wait till Pap's back and go straight to Pap and hold a bit of cash. But yeah, so that particular game will round us out. I don't know if there's any other huge targets. I've brought in Raymian, obviously SJ.
I mean, now that I got the sucky news of Schuster not being back a week early, I could burn 2 trades this week instead of 1. And I could bring in Nicarima. But I am a little worried with Nicarima because he did an ankle. So I hope that doesn't mean that he's not going to kick goals. And he could be just a little bit underdone because one of the best things, well, probably the best thing about Nicarima's game is his running game. So ankle's not good for that, is it? So I don't know. He tempts me because he's got 3 tons this year, and he goal kicks over there usually. So it's the worst. He didn't get a run up to 17 for you to get another look at him this week to see if he's good, So I think I'll just hold and save the trade and just go in light numbers. But he is tempting.
Well, and it was a bit of an interesting one. If you went early on your trades, you end up getting ruled out last week as well. So that would have been interesting because there's always people that trade early, and that's exactly why you shouldn't.
Yep, I know someone who did that.
Yeah. So, that is round 17. It'll be an interesting round. Like I said, we touched on it. Guys like Simonson, Tohu, Sawali possibly not playing Curran. These were guys that a lot of people probably had and were hoping would play. They won't, but we probably get a couple of guys like Cody Walker we thought might have been gone as a result of injuries. And it's going to be interesting. So how many do you have this week, mate? You touched on it a little bit earlier. What your numbers looking at pre-trades? And are you planning on burning them, or what's doing?
Yeah, look, pre-trades I have, I think, 7. I was going to go in with 10, so that I've lost my 3 players. So I've got 7. I'm going to be using 1 to bring in Daniel Tupu. I think he's going to get a swag of points this week, and that's going to be my 8. I could go in with 9 if I brought in a Nico Hines. He's the only one that interests me because why would I bring in, like a Luke Thompson who's going to get me 50 points? I actually value a trade a lot higher than 50 points, So my 8 are, I got Tapau, I got CHN, I've got Johnson, Walker, I got Garrick, Tupu, AJ, and Ben
That's
Travojevic.
quality.
So,
That's
yeah, so
quality.
I've got a quality number. All of my players are quality. So as long as I get the VC and captain right, I'm gonna stay the course, and I'm gonna only use my 1 trade as I planned because, I've got 7 trades left, and one of them's going to be Paps, and then I'm going to save the rest for to cover for injuries and the later rounds.
Pretty commanding, mate. I think, as you said, with 7 trades, that's pretty good at this point of the year. And the position that you're in, I think you're in a really good spot. So I think if you can score at 700-800 with only 7 or 8 players, which you could do depending on a couple of these matchups, and like you said, you nail that B, C, or C.
It is a risk, though. It is a risk, though, because I think 8 is light. I think 10 is what I've always said to everyone is the minimum, although maybe that could be scaled back to a 9, a safe 9, because everybody has lost. Probably Tohu. Most people have had a setback. So I think that this round we were always saying, you want to go 10 or 11, but now I think it's more like 9 or 10, and I want to go even lighter with an 8. But I did have a great first buy, so I was never ever going to go hard at this buy, and I don't think I should change that view. I'm going to go lighter than what the normal is now, which I think is about 9 or 10. So if you've got more than that, I think that you're in really good shape for this buy.
Look, I think you nailed it on the head. There's no point burning a trade at this point for a 50-point player. That's really important to remember, and I think you've got the ones that you do want to have. So, realistically in this round, who were you going to go at? I think you got the guys that you want. You got your little sneakies and your Tupus and your Garricks, which I think you got to have. But other than that, it wasn't really around to go hard at. I mean, there's a couple guys in there that could blow up this week, like Sammy Walkers and this, but there's not too many guys that are going to really hurt you, and I reckon you've got the ones that can hurt you the most, like a Sammy Walker blowing up or something like that. So I think you'll still probably be pretty good with your 7 or 8.
Well, what about you? Because you got the lodge bonus.
Well, fuck yeah. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. Geez, Talakai is making up 3.5. 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And one of those is Benny Turbo, and another one is Talakai.
Yeah.
But I mean, I expected Suwali to play. I thought I would have had Curran still, but I traded Curran. But I didn't expect Lodge, obviously. So I still might burn a couple and shoot for 11. But with Talakai and Turbo, Ben Travojevic, it's probably more realistically just going to be 9, 10.
Yeah. And I mean, how many trades do you have though, as well?
Yeah, so I've got 7 trades left.
Yeah.
So I'm at this point of the year, I don't really care because my team's fucked anyway. Well, it's just
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think you might as well just go bloody have a stab now. Imagine if you because most people are going to be going in with 8 or 9. If you go in with 12, 13, you might go up 5,000 plus spots. You might and then you just go, all right, well, at least I've had a big jump towards the end, and it gives you a little shot in the arm.
Yeah, look, I got 250k in the bank. I'll have a look at maybe a best to low through Talakai. Could be 100k, but I don't know if that's the best use of 100k at this point. CHN I like the look of, and Sammy Walker. I could go a Luai to Sammy Walker for not too much either through Burton. So a couple options there. I don't really want to bring in Saab on a non-turbo week, but he's probably going to make coin to the point where I'm not going to get him next week if he does. But my centre wings are a bit shot too, so yeah, I'll have to have a look.
What about you, Bogues? Are you going in strong into this buy?
No, I couldn't give a fuck. It's game over for me. I'm just here to take the piss. So I've only got 4 trades left. So,
Yeah. Oh, Jesus, you've gone hard.
so yeah, I'm fucked. Whatever. So there's always next year.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
Clinty's had a good one here. He said people running with Ben Turbo place him as a reserve because if he gets a negative score, it won't count. You actually, if you don't put the R on him and he gets a negative score, you won't get his score. So do you not put the R on Ben Trbojevic this week just in case he gets a negative? I think you won't because everyone will just chuck the R on him. Wouldn't that be funny? Everyone chucks the R on him and he gets a negative score and you actually get it. Opposed to not playing him, if you don't pick him as a reserve, you won't get that score. So that'd be quite
surely he gets minutes. This week.
You'd think so.
I mean, then again, their forward pack's the same, really. But
Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be a very interesting round. There'll be anyone that's well equipped for this buy round. They're going to be in for probably some good ranking jumps because a lot of people are just around that similar number to us, that 8 to 10, 11ish, 12 maybe if you burn a couple trades. So
yeah, it's going to be a really interesting buy, I think, because like it always happens, we get those little trip ups, just before the buy, and it'll be really interesting in the wash up. It'll be, I look forward to doing my Sunday show because I could be in a really grumpy mood when I see the scoring that I've done for the week.
Well, I've heard you've told another tale, so I haven't listened as yet.
Oh yeah, well
you're a bit busy at work, but
you'll enjoy it. It's Ado's unlikely career. You'll enjoy it.
Another edition. So if you haven't, now's a chance. Probably shout out as well, Ados. Obviously, anyone that isn't aware, Ados does run his own NRL Supercoach podcast as well. That's Adrianosaurus Rex. And you can find him on Spotify and SoundCloud and all good CD, Sanity, and JB and all that as well, can't you, Ados?
Yeah, I'm so popular. No, I mean, I enjoy doing the potties, and I get a lot of the guys from here on there. Clem's come on a couple of times. Well, he was on once as BJ on GameDay on our show, but he came on the week on the Sunday night this week, and we had a bit of a chat. So, yeah.
I'll have to give it a listen. I did enjoy Clinty jumping on the BJ fold. So yeah, I'll definitely.
Yeah, he's a good logical thinker, and after my chat with him on my podcast, I decided to just, he said like sometimes you got to hold your nerve, and I'm always someone that just goes, just spend them, spend the trades, So it's a different approach for me, but I'm going to see if it works, and we'll just try to just keep control.
No, I agree. He's a cool, calm, calculated individual. I'm Clinty. Shout out Climster. Is that us, Bogues? Is this week? Oh, fuck.
Cracking in the leagues.
Troy's just saying Sipley. I don't think Sipley is really an option. He's still named in the 17 on the extended bench, and he scored a double on the weekend, mate, with a couple of line breaks. So,
but that was his first NRL tries and second.
It was. So, and he scored a double. So, look, he's nearly 300k, I probably wouldn't worry too much about it. But yeah, at this point of the year, I hope you're not trying to make cash off someone like that because his break even's not that good either considering he's turned up for a bloke that plays the minutes that he does. I wouldn't worry about him at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Holy dooly.
That would have been just a couple off the top score. I think they were 1770. So well done, mate.
Huge.
Your Nen's a pigeon.
The Zacks.
Yeah, he's having a great year. He's well entrenched in the top 1,000, and yeah,
Shout out, Benny. Shout out.
yeah, the
I can
257.
I can see Big Ted on there as well. Shout out to Big Ted. I haven't had a chat to Big Teddy for a while, so I hope you're doing well, mate. I talk to Ted fairly regularly, but I haven't heard from him for a little while, so I hope he's doing well.
I was chatting to Ted on the weekend. He's
All right.
going well, and he's spung out a really nice score again this week. He's going to come on. We're going to do a nice early show on Adrianosaurus, and I'm going to have a chat with Ted as
Beautiful.
well sometime soon. So
I'll
he's
look
good.
forward to that one. That'll be one to listen to, that's for sure. And I do like Little Do We Know, Tawana
Yeah.
in number 8. That's a great name. I really like it. Well done.
Good. Well done.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Smick Richards on the up.
Nice.
Shout out, boys. Benny, massive score. He's not too far off appearing in that group image either of Benny. So I don't know what his PB is. I don't know exactly, Benny, when you hear this, or if you're in the chat, you'll have to let us know.
Yeah, I'm coming home, but I mean, expect me to be nowhere near it after this week, probably.
Take a picture. Take a picture.
Me.
Yeah, Clemmy, shout out to Clemmy. He scored well. I think I played him in that this week in the head-to-head, so he gave me a good touch-up this week on Clemmy. Shout out, mate. Fuck yeah. Fucking mana. Hey. Ooh. Hey, Ados, there he is.
Yeah.
Top 5, so same as last season. So yeah, a bit of a sprint to that top 5. Obviously, Hell's Granny's there in 6th.
Yeah, he's coming home with a wet sail. He's just gone up 2 on the ladder, so I think he wants to get in.
Yeah, there'll be some big matchups over the next few weeks. I think we start finals in round 21, if I'm not mistaken. That's the other thing. If you're in any drafts, start having a look when your finals start, because I know in a few that I'm in, they were starting earlier than I had expected. But just to quickly confirm, our finals will start in this one. Not that everyone else cares. Round 21. So if round 17 probably won't be a fixture, you've only got round 18, 19, and 20. So there's only 3 games left, basically. So guys like Kando have to win all their remaining games and hope that they get some. Myself and Wayno lose a couple basically to get in. So
Yeah.
is that Jack DeMellon I see under that table? Oh, no.
No, this is actually the Mrs. Clinic room. She has a clinic that she does VR therapy from at home, and it's actually like the quietest room in the house, you know. So I use it in here when I record my podcast, and she does work in here doing VR therapy for clients. Mm. Yeah, she makes a pretty decent crumb on it too. She's really annoyed this year because she's gone up in a tax bracket and has to pay 16,000 in tax.
Jeez, what a problem.
And thanks to all the viewers, I just realised I've done the entire league section without my mic on, so bit of silence, a bit of peaceful silence there for the listeners.
It'll just be you and I just chiming in and just going, oh yeah, good work.
All right,
most people tune out when we do the leagues anyway, but yeah, that's it, fellas.
Good luck, everyone, this week. It's a tough old bloody round, I reckon, but hopefully you all navigate it and go well as you can. Nail your VC and C. I mean, look at the first bye. People who VC Dufty, they could have just played with 6.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be one of those rounds. It's only going to take one player. Get that player right, and you'll be probably laughing to the bank. So, good luck, Ados. Obviously, you're in a better position than I am, and everyone else out there, probably most of you, are in a better position than I am. So, all the best. I hope your captaincies and trades all work out.
Rate, subscribe, share. We are still tediously close to that 500 mark. So, yeah.
Do all that good stuff, and cheers for joining us, guys. As always, Candos, good to see you, brother, but we're off, and all the best for this weekend, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye all.